Hi everyone, so we're going through the coursework solutions that you all had on statistics. The first question was from May, June 2014. Let's look at it. A class of 30 students counted the number of books in their bags on a certain day. The number of books in each bag is shown below, which we have the numbers here for the 30 students. So we have to complete the frequency table. So for the number, so students who had one book in their bag, the frequency was 2, right? So let's see how they got that 2. Looking at your numbers, 1 appears 2 times. 1 here, and then 1 here. So that's how we get the frequency at 2. The tally will be the 2 strokes, right? So for the last column, f times x, the frequency is f, and the x is the number of books. So how did they get that? They just said f, which in this case is 2, times the x, which is 1, and that's how they got 2 times 1 is 2. That's how they got that, right? And students who had 2, they got 3. Let's just double check. 1, 2, 3. So that's how they got the frequency at 3, and then 3 strokes for the tally, right? And I'll just show you here for the f times x. F here is 3 times the x value is 2, right? So 3 times 2, and that's how they got the 6. And now we're just going to fill out everything else. So the number of students who had 3 books, right? We should get 5. So let's see how we get that. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So you can put your 5, and now we're doing the tally. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you put your stroke for the 5, right? And now we're saying f times x, so as f, which is 5, times x, which is 3, and we're going to get 15. Now let's go with 4 now. 4, we have 4 appearing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 times, right? So now we put in the 6 here, and now we're doing the tally. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the extra stroke for 6. And now f times x column, that'll be, the f is 6 times the x, which is 4. And then we will get 24. Now we're doing it for 5 books. So let's see how much students had 5 books. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you put your 7, and then you put your tally. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then f times x, 7, 35. Now let's look at it for how many students had 6 books. So 1, 2, 3, 4 students had 6 books. Put your tally. The f times x, so that'll be 4 times 6 is equal to, yes, that's 4 times 6 again, which is 24. And last one for 7. How many students have 7 books? So that'll be, I'll do this one, you'll see it. 1, 2, 3, right? And then tally. So then 3 times 7, which is 21. So good so far. That was the table. State the number, state the modal number of books in the bags. Remember, mode is what? Mode is the number that appears the most, right? Now, in this case, we're going to find the modal number of books. How many? Okay, looking at it, right? We have, how many students had 1 book? 2. How many students had 2 books? 3, and so on, right? If we look at the frequency, the highest frequency was 7. So how many books represents 7, right? And that's the modal number of books will be 5, right? So the modal number of books is 5. 1 mark for that. Part C, using the table, find the total number of books. Now to find the total number of books, what do we have to do there, right? Total number of books, we adding up. You can either add up all these numbers that were listed here, or just add up your f times x column, right? When you add up that, we get the total. That would be 127. So you're adding up this all these numbers here, right? And you will get 127. So now, see, part 1 is 127. Part 2, they want to find the mean. Remember, to find mean using the table is the sum of the f times x column all over the sum of the frequency column. What is the sum of the frequency? The sum of the frequency is, I'll just put it here, right? That was the total for this. And we'll get 127 over 30. And then here, when we divide that, we get 4.2. That's, I just rounded it up there, right? And then for part D now, probability, Determine the probability that a student chosen at random has less than 4 books in her bag. So a student chosen at random has less than 4 books in her bag. Now, first of all, probability that a student, how many students do we have? Remember, the total of whatever we are talking about comes at the bottom. So the total number of students we have is 30, right? They told us that right at the beginning there. So the probability that a student has less than 4 books. So less than 4 books means that the student would have either 3 books, 2 books, or 1 book. So we are looking at the number of students who have these amounts, which will be 5 plus 3 plus 2. So I'll write it here. That's it for that. Alright, the print here wasn't the best, but this is from Jan 2018, right? Paper 2. And so let's look at the question straight away. I would have told you how to leave out one part, and I left it out here as well. The marks obtained by 10 students in a test scored out of 60 are shown below. So you have 10 student marks here. Well, first part, I want to find the range. Remember, the range is the highest number, take away the lowest number. The highest number in this case is what? So let's look at it. If you look carefully, 45 will be the highest number. And our lowest number should be 29. Let's double 26. Right? Yes. When we subtract, we will get 19. And that is our range, right? Easy formula to remember. Now we're going to find the median. We're just going to now, remember we have these are the numbers. We must rearrange it from smallest to largest, or largest to smallest. But let's do it smallest to largest. So we will get 26, 29, 31, 35, 35, 37, 38, 38, 42, and then 45. Let's just double check. We have the 10 numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We're leaving out a number. What number did we leave out? Oh, I left out a 38. So a 38 should be here as well, right? So come on, right? Let me just fix that a little bit. So median is the middle number. Let's go ahead and find the middle number. So start crossing off, crossing one side and the other side until we get our middle number. In this case, we have 2 middle numbers. So the median, remember, we have 2 middle numbers. You add and then you divide by 2, right? So when you add and divide by 2, you are supposed to get 37.5, right? And now last part, the probability that a student chosen at random scores less than half the total marks in a test. Now they said the test is out of 60. Less than half the total. Now, okay, before we even get to that, the probability that a student, so the probability is going to be a fraction, as I always said, probably we put it as a fraction, that a student, what's the total number of students we have in the class? We have 10 students in the class. That's the total students. So we put in that total at the bottom. Now the question is asking the probability that a student chosen at random scores less than half the total marks in the test. The total in the test was 60. So if you get less than half the marks, that means you get less than 30, because 30 is the halfway mark, right? Let's check and see how many children got less than 30. That'll be 1 and also 2. So only 2 children got less than half the total marks, and you can reduce it to 1/5 if you want, right? Okay, so this is the last question where you had to draw the frequency polygon. Now they told us to, let's see the scale they asked to use, right? They gave us the everything complete. You just have to plot, right? Now remember for the polygon, and I will show you, you plot the frequency on the y-axis, and on the x-axis we plot the midpoint, right? So the points to plot in this case, right? So again, it's the midpoint, that's the x value, comma your frequency. So the first point, the midpoint was what? 62. So 62, comma 8. The next was for here, right? The next one would be midpoint 67, comma 11. So that's for here. Then 72, comma 15. Then afterwards 77, comma 9. 82, comma 5. And then last one, 87, comma 2. Now, again, the graph is here. Now, this graph, this is not my graph. I got this from FastPass Maths. Very useful site. I would have told you all about many times. Right? Now, the scale they wanted us to use on the x-axis is every 2 cm. Here we use it represented 5 units. Now, if you realize the scale on the x-axis started from 55. That's just so all the numbers could have fit on the x-axis, right? And they went every 2 cm. We're going in fives. Remember, 2 cm is every 10 tiny blocks. You all seen it. So here to here is 5. That's 2 cm. And then there to there, another 2 cm. We're going in fives. On the y-axis, every 1 cm is 1 unit. So every 5 tiny blocks, we're going in ones, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Now, the first point that we had to plot, and I'm just going to go through the first point in particular, right? Okay, so I'm going to show you the first point, 62, 8. So 62 is the x value, the 8 to be the y value, right? So if you look carefully, I'm showing you this point here, right? The 60 is right here. And between the 60 and the 65, you have 10 tiny blocks. What that means is that every 2 lines, so after the 60, 1, 2, here, this is 61. Then 2 lines after that, 1, 2, this is 62 here, right? And you can just check and keep on going. 1, 2, here will be 63, 1, 2, 64, and then you reach the 65, right? So that's how they got this point here. The 62 is here, and then they go up straight to meet the 8 on the y-axis, and that's how we got the first point. The next one was 67, 11, so I'll just go through that one with you, right? So this is 65, so again, let's count and see what 67 will be. Remember, every 2 lines is 1, so 1, 2, this will be 66, then 1, 2, this will be 67, you go up, and you get 67, you go up to where it's 11 on the y-axis. And that's how you plot all your points. Just have to be careful with the scale and just connect each point with straight lines, and that's it, right? Any questions, feel free to ask.